What if your entire life's purpose could be decoded not by chasing more, but by confronting the radical emptiness of a single square meter? Microtopia isn't just about living small. It's about standing eye to eye with the raw, unfiltered truth of who you are when every distraction, every buffer of clutter, every escape hatch has been surgically removed. This is where Ikigai, the Japanese philosophy of finding your reason to wake up, collides with the stark poetry of four walls. Because here's the secret your soul already knows. The smaller your space, the louder your purpose becomes. Forget decluttering. Forget organizing. This is existential archaeology. Imagine your microtopia as a mirror, not for your face, but for your life's core. When you strip a room down to only what ignites a primal yes in your bones, you're left with a blueprint of your subconscious priorities. That lone bookshelf? It's a manifesto. The single chair facing the window? A silent sermon on where your attention truly goes. In this video, we're diving into uncharted territory. 5 taboo truths about how tiny spaces don't just reflect your purpose, they weaponize it. You'll discover why the absence of a guest room might be the key to your creative genius, how an empty corner can trigger a psychological intervention with your past, and why the Japanese concept of ma, the sacred void between objects, could hold the code to your undiluted potential. This isn't minimalism. This is microscopic alchemy, transforming square footage into soul fuel. By the end, you'll see every limitation as a laser beam cutting through life's noise to reveal you, the version that's been buried under maybe later and just in case. Ready to meet your purpose in the space between breaths? Let's begin. Your microtopia isn't a space you design. It's a live autopsy of your values. When every inch is a forced decision, your walls become a naked manifesto of what you've chosen to worship. Think of it this way. In a mansion, you can hide your contradictions behind closed doors. But in 100 square feet, that single shelf of dog-eared novels, the worn yoga mat perpetually unfurled, the absence of a dining table, these aren't accidents. They're hieroglyphics of your subconscious, spelling out the story you've been too afraid to tell yourself. This is architectural vulnerability. The Japanese concept of kintsugi repairs broken pottery with gold, not to hide cracks, but to honor them. Your microtopia does the same for your soul. That empty corner you've refused to fill, it's not wasted space. It's a deliberate void where your unresolved ambitions and silent griefs pool. The kitchen tools you kept, not because you cook, but because they belong to someone you loved, are relics in a shrine to the version of yourself you're still mourning. Tiny spaces don't lie. They amplify the whispers between your choices. Why does this object earn oxygen? Why does that habit claim real estate? When survival instincts kick in, when you're forced to choose between keeping your grandmother's teacup or buying a microwave, you're not decluttering. You're decoding. Every keep is a confession. This is who I am when no one's watching. And here's the twist. Your Ikigai isn't buried in some grand quest. It's fossilized in these micro-choices. That thrifted lamp you positioned to cast shadows just so? It's not about lighting. It's about your unspoken need to control narratives. The single chair facing the window? A throne for your inner observer. The part of you that's always watching life instead of living it. But what happens when you don't like what the walls confess? That's where the revolution begins. Empty space isn't passive, it's pregnant. In your microtopia, every void is a coiled spring, an unspoken ultimatum. Fill me with meaning or let me hollow you out. This is where most minimalist gurus get it wrong. They preach emptiness as an end goal, but true power lies in treating the void as a midwife, a force that doesn't just create space, but compels birth. Consider Ma, the Japanese principle of negative space. In tea ceremonies, the pause between pouring and drinking isn't silence. It's the ceremony's heartbeat. Your microtopia works the same way. That blank wall you're itching to decorate, it's not a canvas waiting for art. It's a mirror reflecting your terror of stillness. The floor space where a couch should be, a surgical table where your excuses, "I'll need it for guests," are dissected to reveal their true diagnosis: fear of committing to your own existence. This is scarcity as spiritual strategy. When physical space becomes non-negotiable, you're forced to answer brutal questions. Does this habit deserve air? Does that dream merit square footage? Like a black hole's event horizon, the void in your microtopia warps time and gravity around it. What you keep gets denser, heavier, more real. That single shelf of books? It's no longer storage. It's a blood sample revealing the DNA of your curiosity. The empty corner where you sit to stare at the wall. An altar where your mind finally hears itself think. But here's the paradox. Emptiness doesn't give you purpose. It pressurizes it into existence. Like coal becoming diamond under duress, your Ikigai emerges when the void strips away all other options. That's why the greatest artists and philosophers thrived in monk-like cells. Not because they loved austerity, but because confinement turned their unmet longings into escape velocity. Which raises the question, what raw, unrefined part of you is waiting to be forged in this crucible of absence? The answer lives in the next truth. Your microtopia is a pressure cooker for the soul, a place where want evaporates, leaving only the radioactive core of need. This isn't minimalism, it's existential chemistry. When square footage becomes non-negotiable, every possession undergoes a trial by fire. Does this object justify the oxygen it steals? Does that habit earn its rent in your psyche? What survives isn't just clutter-free, it's a merciless audit of your authenticity. Consider the Japanese philosophy of wabi-sabi, the art of finding perfection in imperfection. But here's the twist. In a microtopia, wabi-sabi isn't about beauty. It's about brutality. That chipped mug you've kept for a decade? In a mansion, it's sentimental. In 200 square feet, it's a confession. You'd rather drink from cracks than risk the vulnerability of something new. The absence of a guest bed? Not practicality. A boundary etched in steel, screaming, "My peace is not negotiable." This threshold is where culture wars play out in your closet. The West tells you to have it all. Your microtopia hisses, "You are all you can have." That single shelf of books becomes a biopsy of your intellectual hunger. The lone potted plant. A hostage situation. Either you water it daily or watch your last connection to nature die. There's no room for someday here. Scarcity forces your hand, collapsing the distance between aspiration and action until they're pressed cheek to cheek. But here's the alchemy. When enough becomes a mathematical certainty, not a moral ideal, your Ikigai emerges from the ashes of compromise. That chef's knife you use for every meal? It's not a tool. It's a syllable in the haiku of your purpose. The notebook filled with midnight scribbles? A census of your mind's irreducible citizens. So ask yourself, what survives when survival is the only metric? The answer doesn't fit on a shelf. It rewires your nervous system. Your microtopia isn't just shaping your space. It's rewiring your neural circuitry. Every choice to keep or discard an object in these cramped quarters acts like a neurosurgeon's scalpel, severing old pathways and grafting new ones. This isn't metaphor. fMRI studies reveal that cluttered environments trigger cortisol spikes, while minimalist spaces activate the prefrontal cortex, the brain's command center for purpose. Your tiny habitat? It's a live fMRI machine, conducting daily scans of your priorities. Think of your neurons as overgrown city streets. Clutter creates traffic jams of indecision, but Microtopia imposes urban planning for the mind. That single drawer you've curated to hold only what sparks joy. It's not storage, it's synaptic pruning, forcing your brain to dissolve connections to maybe and strengthen highways to hell yes. The absence of a TV wall, a demolition of dopamine loops, leaving your neural real estate free for the skyscrapers of deep work and Ikigai. This is neuroplasticity weaponized. Ancient samurai designed dojos as blank cubes to heighten focus. Your Microtopia does the same, but for your identity. When you can't hide behind possessions, your brain starts projecting its unmet needs onto blank walls. That sudden urge to paint? Not creativity, a cortical rebellion against the tyranny of the mundane. The way you pivot around furniture becomes a neurological dance, your cerebellum mastering the art of intentional movement until every step feels like a ritual. But here's the revolution. Over time, your Microtopia's limitations become your mind's liberation. The brain adapts to scarcity by developing hyperfocus, not just on tasks, but on your existential North Star. That's why hermits in cells and astronauts in capsules report eerily similar epiphanies. Confinement doesn't shrink purpose. It supercharges it. So ask yourself, what neural pathways are you paving with your daily micro-choices? The answer doesn't just live in your skull, it's etched into your soul's blueprint. Your Microtopia isn't a cage, it's a philosopher's stone, transmuting limitations into the gold of unshakable purpose. This is where Ikigai stops being a concept and becomes combustion. When every square inch demands justification, you're forced to confront the raw ore of your existence. What burns hot enough to survive this furnace? Think of Japanese shokunin, craftsmen who spend decades perfecting a single technique. Their mastery isn't born from freedom, but from constraints so severe they become sacred. Your tiny space does the same. That corner where you write, it's not a desk. It's a smithy hammering your scattered thoughts into steel cable focus. The absence of storage? A merciless editor deleting every subplot until only your life's central narrative remains. This crucible effect is why monks and astronauts share eerie clarity. Confinement doesn't restrict purpose, it ignites it. Your Microtopia's walls act like reactor containment vessels, concentrating energy until latent passions reach critical mass. That stack of journals you've kept despite ruthless purges? Not paper, enriched uranium. The single plant you've nurtured into a jungle? A biological manifesto proving your need to grow something, even if it's just leaves. But here's the alchemy. Constraints don't create purpose. They expose it. Like lava revealing a diamond's location, scarcity melts away the sedimentary layers of should and someday, until your Ikigai glows in the molten core. That's why survivors of tiny houses and prison cells often say the same thing. I found myself when I had nowhere to hide. Your Microtopia isn't just where you live. It's where your purpose lives through you. And if that truth terrifies you, good. Terror is the shadow cast by unmasked potential. Your Microtopia isn't a destination. It's a decoder ring for the universe inside you. We've walked through the fire of scarcity, watched neural pathways rewrite themselves, and stood in the molten core where purpose becomes non-negotiable. But here's the ultimate truth. Limitations are lifelines. They're not shackles, but spider silk, fragile threads that, when woven together, form a web strong enough to catch your falling self. The Japanese have a saying, Nana Karobi ya Oki, fall 7 times, rise 8. Your tiny space is both the fall and the rise. Every object purged, every corner left empty, every breath taken in that charged silence. They're not acts of denial. They're sutras written in the language of your unmasked soul. So ask yourself tonight, as you stare at your 4 walls, what version of me is waiting to be excavated from this sacred scarcity? The answer won't fit in a square footage. It'll rupture dimensions. If this collision of space and soul has ignited something in you, don't let it end here. Smash that subscribe button and ring the bell, because this channel isn't about teaching you minimalism. It's about weaponizing it. We've got playlists that'll turn your home into a Zen war room, your habits into stealth missiles for greatness, and your doubts into kindling for unshakable purpose. But this isn't about me. It's about you, the version of you that's done hiding behind too busy and maybe someday. The you that's ready to meet your Ikigai in the mirror of a single square meter. I'll see you in the next video, or perhaps in the echo of what you've already left behind.